four other folks here on the stage, but I always like to make sure this is interactive. So if you guys have questions you want to direct, in the chat, and maybe we'll even have a little bit of time at the very end. So good morning again. My name is Lisa Prento. I am an EXP Icon agent on beautiful Cape Cod in Massachusetts. It's a lovely place to be, although there's all kinds of crazy warnings about below zero temperatures tomorrow. And you'd think people never saw a winter before. We've had like 50s and everybody, I mean, literally people wanted to shut the open houses down this weekend. It's hysterical. I'm like, it's winter. I think we'll survive. But anyway, I'm just so excited. And hey, I don't know how many of you were at leadership earlier, but what a great way to roll into our conversation today, because I think we're going to be focusing an awful lot on mindset and growth mentality as well. So let me first open up by asking everybody on the panel if they could introduce themselves and just say hi, where you're from, and then I'm going to throw out my first question.
Who's first?
John, you want to start? We'll go along the advertisement list. So we'll start with John.
Awesome.
Lisa, I don't think John's here just yet, so maybe we'll jump to Matt Beaver.
We will not be starting with John. Hey, Matt. Good morning. How are you?
Morning. I don't know if you heard my dog bark right then. That's pretty Maggie the pit bull. So she's extremely dangerous and will lick you to death if you come in our house.
Yeah. Just like mine. I hope that the mailman doesn't show up while we're on.
Yeah. Somebody shows up, it's going to go nuts in here. Matt Beaver, my wife and I have a team here in Dallas, Fort Worth. There are 7 of us on our team. I'm from South Carolina in the upstate. So I'm a Texas transplant, just like many other people. And we've got ice on the ground that's melting right now. So I feel like you, Lisa. Everything was shut down. But I'm in my 10th year of real estate. We've had our team for almost 3 years now, and we do things a little different on our team, which we all love, and I'm just glad to be here and to help you guys succeed however I can.
Thank you so much. Mike, are you there? Colorado.
I'm here. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I am a rainmaker out of the Colorado area. We have 14 agents that kind of span north to south. I'm also the co-chairperson of the military network with EXP. So I'm honored and proud to work with our military veterans with that affinity group. We do about 80 million in volume. I'm happy to be a resource in any capacity that I can.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Scott. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Scott Ziegler out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. That would be just above North Dakota. We are just coming out of a stretch of minus 40s, so please no more complaining from anybody else on the panel.
Yes.
Thank you for putting that into perspective.
I've been to Saskatoon.
I've 17 years in the business. I had hair when I started, 2 years with EXP, double icon. Happy to be here.
Scott and Lisa, I won't tell you I'm in.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I won't tell you that I'm in the Maui Invitational right now with you guys. It's in their cold weather, so I'll leave it that there.
Well, you did get to mention that, and that's good for you, because part of what it's all about here is some time freedom and some financial freedom. So that is great news. And I'm glad you're enjoying that. And Scott can send you as much energy as he'd like right now, because he's probably the furthest away on that climate scale for sure. So I'm going to throw it back out, because I always love to sort of do this and dig into folks a little bit more in terms of, we're going to get to some, mindset, production, different kinds of things. But I'd like to get to know everybody a little bit better. And I'll also chime in on this. But how about sharing something, Matt, Mike, and Scott, that we would not normally know about you? Share something about you that, whatever that might be, big or small, that we might not know about you, that will help us to get to know you a little bit better.
So I worked at a nonprofit before real estate, and I traveled and did leadership training around the world. So I've been to 41 countries and still love to travel, and not just resorts and everything, but I've stayed in some really, really awesome places and stayed in some really, really interesting places and eaten some very interesting things in my life. So that's something about me.
Now, Matt, you cannot say you've eaten interesting things without sharing at least one of those. Come on.
Yeah. Fish eyeballs, blood sausage tacos, cricket tacos, flies that are sauteed. You'd never know they weren't barbecue potato chips if you didn't know what somebody was describing on the roasted and salted flying ants.
Well, I certainly have heard that, and I mean, again, it's all your perspective, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's for darn sure, in terms of eating flowers or bugs. Well, thank you, sir. That was fascinating.
Yeah.
Mike Nelson, tell us something about you that will get us help us to know you better.
Sure. I worked for a Fortune 500 company for 19 years prior to getting into real estate, and 20 years in the Air National Guard, from everything from air traffic controller to building bombs for the aircraft to combat communications. So a little diversity and some skills.
Wow. Does that impact your sphere of influence?
We do have a fairly decent military connection point, and across the nation, yeah, I would say that's a true statement.
Yeah, well, thank you again for all of that, for sure. Very interesting. And Scott, in freezing cold Saskatchewan, tell us something about yourself that we would not know that will help us to get to know you better.
Two things. Right out of high school, my first career was a licensed funeral director and embalmer. So I've basically been in customer service, in one form or another since the day I graduated high school. And I'm a very, I'm a type A, I'm a driver personality. I'm actually a very aggressive personality. I just like to get stuff done, and don't mess with me when we're on the freeway. Just get out of my way.
Now, we have spoken before, Scott. We've been on a panel before, but I've never heard that part of your story. So thank you so much. I imagine there's plenty of opportunity for memes and other things about that first career for sure. Were you ever involved with taxidermy?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Just humans.
I just wanted to clarify. Okay, moving right along. We can only go up from here. I guess, we had a little bit of a chat prior to coming together today, and I think many of us will agree that we've talked the concept of the market shift almost to death now, and there's a variety of response, reaction, and also that's changing in and of itself. So we thought we would really spend some time today talking about really following up on leadership, and really talk a little bit more about mindset and obstacles and blocks and ways that we kind of get ourselves out of there. So I love the word moxie also, and I guess I would describe moxie as kind of savvy and chutzpah, and with a little bit of persistence sprinkled in, enthusiasm. Something that I think realtors probably in general have an awful lot of, more than most folks. But in terms of mindset, if I could ask each one of you, what's a little bit about that you do every day that impacts your mindset and motivation that's a non-negotiable? And we could just keep going down the road. Matt, if you want to jump in first, that'd be great.
Yeah. When you say every day, that's a little difficult for me, because I am the opposite of Scott. Maybe not the opposite, but maybe in the middle. I'm not a hard driving type A personality. If you've ever taken the DISC test, I'm a high I personality. I also have ADD, like not just saying that, but literally been to the psychiatrist, ADD kind of thing that I just kind of as an adult started dealing with. So every day is difficult for me, but if I could change it to like every week or every other day or something like that, I think we all lie to ourselves a lot, and either one way or the other. We either tell ourselves that we're worse than we are or we're better than we are, instead of really telling ourselves the truth. And so I think telling ourselves the truth is that I'm not really as terrible of an agent as I am, and I really have a lot of room to grow. If I can keep kind of a balance of those two things, where I'm not too arrogant and I'm not too deprecating, is that the right? Yeah, not defecating, self-deprecating, right? Yeah. If I can keep a good balance on those things, I think that's helpful for me to not get too far down or too far that I'm pretty awesome. And so that just keeps me working hard and trying to serve others the best I can. That's a mindset that I take a lot.
Yeah, I love that. What I heard really was that you want to make sure that you stay right sized.
Yeah. I don't. It's not all about me, so I don't need to puff myself up. But it's also it is about what I think about me and how I overcome my my non-strengths in my life.
Yeah, no, and I think your high I personality, that would indicate that, for sure. Hopefully most people are familiar with the DISC analysis. If not, please familiarize yourself with it. There's a really pretty thorough one that Tony Robbins owns that's free, and there's a ton of them if you just Google it. But it's great to understand your own strengths in that case. Also understand your significant other and other people that are very close to you in your life. And then a deeper study of all that, of course, is how you can best interact with those four styles. Being a high D myself, one of the most challenging relationships is with other high Ds. And being a luxury agent in real estate, I certainly come across an awful lot of high Ds. But I have a lot of I. So my chatty I is not appropriate for a lot of my high D.
My wife is like you. She's an agent too, and she kills it. And she's a DI personality. So I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Mike, how about you in terms of a non-negotiable that you do daily or very frequently?
I think for me, it's a single statement would be having my priorities aligned the night before or the morning of. I want to wake up with a clear mind and know exactly what I need to accomplish the next day. That gives me a sense of freedom, accountability to what needs to be done. If I just singled it down to one point, it would be that. There's so much more to it, of course. I want to start off with some gratitude. I want to start off with a very routine schedule, right? I literally get up, I want to have a cup of water, I want to have a cup of coffee, right? I really have my schedule pretty dialed in the morning. The one thing I encourage people not to do, as you hear, is to wake up, start checking your phone, your email, your social media, because that's not really setting your day in a intentional manner. So for me, I can keep it pretty simple on that, is having a routine and coming with how can I help somebody today? I think that's a game changer, is what is the difference I can make in somebody's life today, whether that's my team, whether that's my spouse, whether that's my buyers and sellers. If you wake up with a mindset of how can I help somebody else today, that's life changing.
Yeah, I just love that. I think the social media, that just the more immersed and enmeshed we are in our lives, the more is the the caution and the care around how we control our appetites around that, for sure. And yeah, you everyone knows you pick that thing up and you are in reaction mode from before your feet hit the ground, and that's not the way in an ideal world that we want to live our lives. And it'll be interesting to see as we move on what generations after us and current generations are going to do to try to pull that out of their daily every moment. It's had such a huge impact. It's certainly talking about ADD and with that constant entertainment is something that's very difficult to come away from, for sure. But I love how can I serve others? That's such a great way to you said it's a game changer, and really admirable. So thank you so much for that. Mr. Ziegler, what are your thoughts for your non-negotiables every day?
Similar to the last two statements on my, even though I'm a driver personality and all that kind of stuff, I'm fairly, I play between the lines on my emotions. I don't have super high highs. I don't have super low lows. And I know that that's just a personal for me. Everybody, every individual human is different. I'm a spiritual person. So prayer is a, sort of a big part of my morning-ish routine. My dogs have to go for a walk at a certain time every day, and so that I spend some time doing that and in prayer. So that kind of keeps me grounded and focused, and I try and work out in the morning if I can. That kind of gets my day started as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that in terms of setting aside some quiet time. For me personally, just real quickly, I'll say my joy of life that you might not know about me, although I have been on the stage a few times, is scuba diving. I'm a scuba diver. I've probably had well over 100 hours of diving, and that's really my joy of life. And I'm a glamma to Eloise Ann, so I have two things. But my non-negotiable absolutely is meditation and spending some time every day on whatever. I just went through the Gabby Bernstein 21-day manifesting challenge. I'm always kind of looking at introducing other things into my life that will help inspire me and help me on my path and help me to keep out of my high D head and thinking of others. So that is absolutely a non-negotiable for me. I have to take that time. And, a 5-minute meditation is far beneficial than a 0-minute meditation. So I don't think it needs to be something difficult and, 45 minutes sitting on a pillow. There's lots of ways you can connect with a power higher than yourself and greater than yourself. And so for me, that's absolutely a non-negotiable. So let me get on to another question, another idea. Is there a sort of a motivational quote or a mentor that really helps you stay inspired and to stay on track? If you could share that with us. And Matt, we could start with you again.
Yeah, I love to golf, and I play golf probably twice a month with two guys. One of them is 78 years old, and the other one is 68 years old. And I really enjoy both of them. Very successful businessmen in the Dallas area that built up a business and then sold it and retired early. And so it's good to see something from someone with a different age group than me. And so I really love just hanging out with those guys. They ground me, and I'm also a person of faith, and I was a youth pastor before. And that was part of my nonprofit work. Is I traveled with students and helped churches in third world countries. And so I really just staying grounded in my faith does a lot for me. And so just trying, as Scott said, to pray as much as possible, and really just not think of myself as better than I am, and serve others more than I serve myself. And so those are things that my wife and I really work towards in our business, not just personally, but we want to serve, not just to get business, but to serve because that's what we believe God has called us to do, is to put ourselves below in a good way other people, and to serve their needs more than our needs. So those are I don't have like a quote, but those are just driving forces for me.
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't know if there was a specific, a thought leader or,
Yeah.
something.
My favorite writer is and now I'm drawing a blank. The book is called Prodigal God. I don't know if anybody's ever read that, but that's my favorite book of all time. And so trying to live a life the way that book describes is one of my favorites. So if you're a person of faith, Tim Keller, and the book is The Prodigal God. It's awesome.
That sounds amazing, and thank you. I'm always looking for inspiration, as I'm sure everyone who's on the attending in the audience is as well. So thank you so much for that. And if you think of the book and anything, guys, please put some resources in the chat, icons on the stage, because I'm sure that folks out in the audience would be grateful for that as well, for sure. All right, Mike.
Wow, so many people have had a success or an influence on my life for sure, but I'll pare it down to one or two. Ed Milet is definitely somebody who I follow pretty consistently on his podcasts, and just seeing him speak on stage. Certainly, there's a lot of powerful people in EXP that I could make a laundry list here with Brent Gove and Veronica Figueroa and so on and so forth. But Ed Milet would definitely be a motivator for me. Couple of things. So the quote that I really have is: successful people have fear, successful people have doubts, and successful people have worries. They just don't let those feelings stop them. That's the fine line between success and not, right? So that's a quote that I kind of like to throw out there on occasion. And one of the books that I really enjoyed reading is Gap in the Gain. Gap in the Gain. Too many times as high drivers, like Scott and I, we live so much in the gap, and I'm not suggesting Scott does, but drivers do live in the gap a lot, and they don't appreciate and realize the gain. So we realize burnout a little bit more because we're always chasing something that is in the gap instead of appreciating how far we've come.
Yeah, boy, I can really relate to that for sure. You know, I think, and you know, I'd love to hear what people have to say as well. But when I hit a goal, you know, Icon, for example, I mean, I saw it fly by. You know, I just was like, next. And, you know, I have all kinds of people in my life saying, you know, what are you going to do to celebrate that? What are you going to do to celebrate that? And certainly one of my hugest influencers and inspirations is Tony Robbins. And I think the 6 human needs that Tony describes really resonate with me: certainty, uncertainty, love, significance, growth, and contribution. And what has been pointed out to me is that if significance, as a high D, is not addressed in a very meaningful and complete way in your life, then it is never enough. And so I think I'm reminded of that all the time, and especially those of us that are higher achievers. You know, so that's sort of certainly a concept that I grapple with. And after Scott goes, I'll share some of my inspiration and quotes from Tony.
Yeah, it's a great point, Mike. Actually, I would agree with what you both just said. As a goal setter, there's always another goal, and I know that I'm really bad at celebrating milestones. Like, just like Lisa said, it's like, what are you going to do to celebrate Icon? Well, there's more houses to sell. There's always something more to do. But I don't actually have any. Like, I have some scripture references that I have plastered around my office that, you know, that would be sort of my guiding quotes that I won't get into. But I think as a general rule, podcasts are a big thing for me. I don't listen to music, like, hardly at all. And if I'm in the car or I'm out for a walk, I'll often put on an audiobook or a podcast, and they go right from, you know, the motivational stuff. Like, I listen to a lot of Ed Milet stuff as well, to the the real estate specific ones, different sermons and stuff like that. So I find that I'm always trying to fill my mind with something of value, versus what I heard somebody call instead of bubble gum for my ears. I try and put something of value in there.
I appreciate that. You took one of my questions, which was around podcasts. So I'll come back to you on that, for sure. I wanted, I just said it this morning. One of my really favorite quotes that I reflect on every moment in every situation is that Tony said, and I'm sure a million people have said it since the beginning of time, by the way, you always have a choice. And that is hugely powerful for me. I have a choice in every situation. I have it, how are you today? I have a choice in every situation. And that is a really driving force for me as kind of a super high D, very optimistic personality. I feel lucky around that. That wasn't anything that I feel in some ways kind of born with some of that. But you do always have a choice. And I see people who are really continuing to offer value and share themselves and be willing to uplift all those around them, making those conscious choices, which is really beautiful. As all of you who joined us today to share some of your thoughts and your wisdom, I really appreciate that. So let's see. Moving on, sort of around, mindset and self-confidence. We've kind of touched on it a little bit, but what are kind of effects? I mean, everybody runs into a blue day, or I just had some was supposed to close today, a really big one that fell apart on Monday. Everybody runs into speed bumps. Share something that you've consistently found that enables you to get back on track.
Yeah. I do tell myself this a lot, and the quote is, "This too shall pass." Whatever it is we're going through, whatever, down day or deal that's fallen through, or whatever, then it will pass. It doesn't have to. We can, and a good Southern thing, we can wallow in it, like a pig in dirt, and it'll stay with us, but it doesn't have to. It can pass. And so I got into real estate because I went through in 6 months, I lost everything that I had. I lost my wife, my car, my house, my job, some friends. In a 6-month period, I lost everything in about 11 years ago. And so I would often have to tell myself, this too shall pass, right? And just keep going and keep taking one step in front of the other. And now it's not anywhere as heavy or life-threatening as it was back then. But when a deal falls through, or one of my teammates, we have a one-on-one, and they share something that they didn't particularly care for that we did as a team, or I did, or I'm not giving enough to them, or money's tight, or things like that, then I just have to remind myself, this too shall pass. And then I just have to remind myself, and we'll say this, so what? What if I lose everything? Am I still me? I mean, would I still have what I really, really care about, which is my wife and my own life? Would it be okay? Like, just kind of stripping it down and deconstructing everything to what really, really, really matters. That helps me when a deal falls apart to go, you know what, it's really not that big a deal. Everything's going to be fine. Now, that's hard to do, but I think that's a good reminder to keep us, like Scott said, he doesn't get very high or very low. There's some really good in that. And so I think just reminding ourselves that we are going to make it if we will put the work in. And even if everything falls apart, guess what? We still hopefully are going to have everything that truly matters to us.
Yeah, that's so great to put things into that perspective, for sure. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, I big into the leadership thing. And so when I run into difficult situations, I always turn to myself and say, somebody's watching you. Somebody's watching to see how you're going to respond to this. Maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your colleagues, maybe it's your buyers and sellers. So are you leading from the front and how you handle a situation? With that, I feel like there's the opposite side too, where leadership can be lonely. I mean, let's face it, it can be lonely. So how are you pouring into your own self? Because if you don't have any energy in yourself, it's hard to pour into others, right? So for me, it's about who you surround yourself with. It really does come down to that. I need other people in my life that are mentors or colleagues that are experiencing a lot of the same things that I struggle with in the business world. So to me, I would kind of sum it up to who's your crowd, right? Who are you affiliating yourself with that's pouring into you and picking you up when your spirits are down or you're lonely as a leader?
That's good.
Yeah, just to follow up on that. So how did you find your tribe and your crowd?
For me, it really ties down to these type of events, actually getting out there to other events. For example, shareholder summit, and I want to pitch and plug those things because that's how you find those crowds. That's where you find those opportunities. Even today, I don't know that Scott and Matt and I knew ourselves today coming in, but guess what? By attending this and being together on this, we've now formed, a potential relationship that we can use to communicate with each other, right? And you, Lisa, as well. Sorry, I'm just watching that. I'm looking at the screen. I'm looking at the screen on the right side of the presentation.
I will not hold that against you. I appreciate it. Scott.
Yeah, great question. I think that there are times when I'll never forget last year in the spring market. I guess what was it, January, March and April or February and March, I can't remember. I did like 10 deals one month, 11 deals the next month. I was like way ahead of my goals. And then right in the heart of the spring market, like April or May or June, again, I can't remember which ones it was. I did like 3 deals, and it's just like, high and low, and how do you handle it? And I think that, there are days when it's like, man, I just don't feel it today. I'm just not going to make my calls, and you have to kind of recognize that. And it, to a certain extent, it is what it is. But I like the quote that, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And nothing will pull you out of a funk quicker than business activities. If you're listening to this and you're like, man, it's February 2nd or 3rd today, and I'm behind and I don't got much going, I'll guarantee you that if you go out and spend 2 hours knocking on doors or call some for sale by owners or expireds or whatever it is that you do, business activities bring business results. And so I think that's, the biggest, like I said, the easiest way to get out of a funk or to get yourself back going again is just to get back to work to a certain degree.
Yeah, I love that so much. Tony always talks about massive action and how we are so often victims of the tyranny of how. And I just love that because, ooh la la, I will find myself stuck in that tyranny of how all the time. And it's really hard to break out of that and to just, sort of be willing to go after whatever it is that you're going after and not keep trying to always break it down to how. That's important, but it's also important to continue to stay in action. And I just love that, you remind us, everybody, of that, that the momentum of that energetically is powerful beyond our wildest imaginations. I believe that. The momentum of massive action is absolutely super powerful. So going back to sort of working with other agents, I believe all of you have somewhat of a team, it sounds like more like a production team versus a revenue share team. So what is something that you would share now, knowing what you know now after being with EXP for a little while and at a very high production level, something that you would want to make sure that you let newer agents know that are looking to kind of up their game? And I know Scott was really talking about action, but I think I'm talking as much about mindset as anything else.
Yeah, say the question again. I was thinking, and so I didn't hear the first part of it.
Yeah, well, so, we're a newer agent coming on your team, whether newer to the business or newer to EXP, what's something that you like to share that's really in alignment with the way that you work, and really share with them about how to up their game, how to really bring it in 23, because this is a new world, right? This is a new world.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably, I don't know if I don't think old fashioned is the word for it, but like our team really focuses on relationships and referrals and things like that. I love Brian Buffini's podcasts, and I do coaching from them, and the way that they do things about investing in the people that you do. And so I tell new agents that come on a team, if somebody gave you $5,000, spend that $5,000 having coffee and lunch with everybody that you know. And so I really just, I think as the more and more we get away from personal contact with social media and stuff, I think the more and more impact something personal has for someone, like writing a note, an actual handwritten note, and doing coffee. And my wife and I, one of the things that's really funny, we were on a panel and they said, "What's your secret sauce?" And I said, our secret sauce is we buy things we don't necessarily need from anybody that has a home run business in our community, right? And so, like, my wife has more makeup and nails and we have diet products and Advocare or whatever than we need, because it shows that we're interested and we live in our community and we will support everybody else and not just ask everybody else to support us, right? We can come across like that sometimes as real estate agents, and hey, let me sell your house, but we sometimes aren't willing to before that invest back in people. And so just the word investment and connections and things like that are very important. I think, especially where I live, in the community that I live in. Frisco, Texas is a very family-driven, relational community, and so it's growing crazy, but it still holds that. And so I think that's really important for any new agent, I think, is just make connections with people and serve those people, and in time that will reap rewards for you.
Yeah, thanks. I just love that. So my favorite podcast, a podcast that I listen to at the gym without fail is "It's a Good Life." I mean,
yes, so good.
30 minutes. Oh my God.
So good.
He is so funny and so spot on. I could not love Brian Buffini more than I do. I got to see him. Yeah, he is just. I mean, you never ever walk away without having a good belly laugh for sure, which is really important in the work that we do. Thanks, Mike. How about you in terms of newer agent, new to you? What is something that you always make sure that they understand, that you talk about this in alignment with the way that you work?
100%. It is mindset to me, and actions, right? And I know Scott talked about that for a little bit ago. So I just kind of wrote down some bullet points as Matt was talking. So, it's who you surround yourself with. You got to tune out the noise. There's a lot of negativity out there in this world in general, and also just in the news, right? Tune that stuff out. Brent Gold said the other day that this is a huge opportunity this year. You have to look at this as an opportunity. Don't look at this as a negative. Look at this as an opportunity. There's a lot of average agents across our industry. This is an opportunity to prove yourself to be different than an average agent. That gives you substantial opportunities for growth and success. I really try to advocate to our newer agents. You don't really know anything different because you're a newer agent. So you don't have any litmus tests or anything to compare it to. That's to your advantage. That's 100% to your advantage. You don't have any of that noise of the past and how good the market was polluting your mind right now. So I work a lot with them on that. I believe who you surround yourself with, you'll hear me say that a lot today, is so powerful. Like Brent says, a rising tide, right, rises all ships. Who are you with? Who are you hanging out with? Who's pushing you to be better? Who's challenging you? Who's holding you accountable? Like, those are things that new agents and all of us need in our lives. The last thing I'd say is who you have to ultimately become somebody to achieve your goals. You might not have to be the same person you were before. So who do you have to become to be that person? I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I love that. It's actually, that I think Zig Ziglar talks an awful lot about that as well. And also putting yourself into that putting yourself into that mindset, even if that kind of fake it till you make it. I think there's a lot of power in that because it sets you up for a very positive foundation and platform versus wanting and wishing and hoping and all of those things insinuate that you do not have that, insinuate that you are in more of a lack mentality. And there's power in that. We have a choice. You can choose, you have 24 hours in each day and you got a choice on how you're going to spend those 24 hours. So that's certainly a great point. Scott, how about you?
I prefer figure it out until you make it, but instead of fake it till you make it. But I think for a newer agent, I think the fact that there's 104 users in this room right now, whether they're all in here and paying attention or not, I don't know. But that's a good start. There, as a new agent or a newer agent or an agent that's looking to level up in EXP, there are resources for you. And, I think that you would find that even if you reached out to people doing greater things than you, whether that be on work chat or in your network, that you'll find people that will give you some time, like maybe not a day in and day out mentor, but people will give you their time. And I think that the step after that, though, is, we have to be doers of information, not just gatherers of information. And so, I think that we can Zoom ourselves in EXP world and podcast ourselves, to death and never implement, the things that we hear. And I in my market, I do exceptionally well at social media, and I get asked all the time, like, how do I do it? How am I staying ahead of the curve and all that kind of stuff? And my answer is simple. I just pay attention. I just pay it when somebody's doing something that's working. I pay attention and I'm like, okay, they're doing X, Y, and Z. How are they doing it? Why are they doing it? How can I replicate that result? And so I think that that's true across every discipline. That it instead of going on, instead of being in EXP world every day, every week, do it twice a week, and then take the next day or two and try and implement what you learned. And so I think, to sum it up is, reaching out to people or paying attention to people that are doing what you want to do, and then be willing to actually implement, not just take the information in.
Yeah, I love that. Pay attention on purpose. How I've heard it mentioned. But as you say, why reinvent a wheel? If you observe, always quoting Tony Robbins here, but success leaves clues, right? And if you observe folks that are successful, have what you want, are in a place that you would like to move towards, what are they doing and how are they doing it? And how can you do it? I think that is really, really, really sound advice, Scott. Thank you so much for sharing that concept. So here's a fun one. Time and money are no object. What is something that you would like to learn about? What is something that you would, whether it's, course, school, experiential, just love to hear, is there something on your journey that you would like to learn about at this time in your life?
Well, Lisa, I want to learn to scuba dive. I haven't done that, so that's on my list. I might do it this year. So send me any recommendations. I want to break par in golf. And so that's a learning thing that a discipline. I think it's just like anything else we do. We got to, practice and keep going. So that's one. And I just got a book called High Trust Selling by Todd Duncan. And so learning more about how to build trust with our clients and other agents, because earning trust quickly is, I think, one of the things that can set you apart in the next year in real estate.
I love that. And please put that book also in the chat.
Okay.
We've got a bunch of great resources that are showing up in the chat. And I think it's super helpful for everybody because we all have our own playbook that we're reading from for sure. Mike, how about you? Time and money are no object. What would you like to learn?
I think for me, it literally would be how to honestly get a 501c3 kind of put together that is an opportunity to give back, right? Like that's my next desire in life. I'm at that age now where it's more about how can I make and generate financial opportunities to give back to said world. I know that's kind of a cheesy maybe answer, but really where my passion is. I'm moving to that phase of life now where it's less about me and how do I open up doors for other opportunities for others.
I love that for sure. So what's your 501c3 going to look like? Who are they going to serve? What's it going to be?
Yeah, I mean, my vision, my background is around the military. So I want to be able to do either service dogs, PTSD. There's just a lot of things around that with our veterans where would probably be where I would niche at.
Wow, that's beautiful and amazing. And certainly the VA has undergone some real transformation in the last 5 or so years. So probably any resources from a philanthropic or community grassroots organization would be so helpful to that community for sure. We have Joint Base Cape Cod here on the Cape, and there's plenty of folks coming and going, mostly Coast Guard related, but we do have the very first planes that responded to 9/11 came from Otis Air Force Base here on Cape Cod. So we certainly have a legacy of that here. We just can't get people to leave when they have to get. Actually, the people I've had who've left have then come back 2 years later when they could, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, keep being more specific and manifest that, Mike. You can do it.
Yes,
Scott,
ma'am.
Scott, how about you?
So it's a good question, and I'm drawing a blank, which actually should be a bit of a red flag for me. What would I do, or what my interests are that way? I think the only thing that really came to my mind is I'd like to move into mentorship and coaching, and I don't know if I could even wrap that around volunteering and just sort of giving back as well, using my experience and the gifts and talents that I have to to help other people. And I think that'd be a great place to get to if I didn't have to worry about where the next check was coming from.
Yeah, well, and that's supposed to be part of our business model too, right? So hopefully that will continue. I'm going to touch on that in a sec, but I don't know if you've checked out Success Coaching. I had the great fortune of being in the very first group that went through, and I can tell you that no matter when you spend time learning about yourself, first of all, and then learning about how to facilitate others find their own answers, which is such a difference in coaching than like therapists and different things. It's just an amazing experience. And you can do a variety of things with that over time. But we do have a great program and a great resource within EXP. So I would definitely encourage folks to check that out for sure if you have not. So I would spend more time learning about art. And I've just started I really wanted to paint for a long time. Watercolor, zero. I will say at this point, I have not discovered my talent. I won't say I have no talent because that's not good for the universe, but I have not discovered whatever my talent is. But I thought, this year it's not ever going to start unless I commit to a class. And I always was going to be like gone. And even in this class, I'm literally gone 2 out of the 6 classes, but I still did it. And my I will call her a flaky art teacher. Yesterday was the first day of pagan spring. I don't know if you know that, but we all had a candle and a flower for the first day of pagan spring. She somehow taped the classes that I've missed, and making that space for creativity and having nothing to do with real estate for me is something that I would, if time and money were no object, something that I would continue to pursue. It's just a piece of my being that has been kind of clawing to get out for a long time. But whoever has the time to sit around and learn how to watercolor, it's not learning how, you just have to keep painting. So that would be my thing that I would definitely do. And I continue to try to figure out how and to calendar that, because that's the only way anything happens in my life. If I don't have an intention for it and put it on a calendar, it does not exist. So that's certainly it for me. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit, go a little bit to EXP for a moment. and ask a question about your production, and also whether or not you are and have spent time or intend to spend time building out a revenue share organization. That's something I struggle with on a daily basis in terms of transitioning from production to more of my focus to building my organization. It is a constant question that has not been solved for me. And I ask everybody. In fact, God, I know we've been on something before, I probably brought it up then. So I would just love to hear what you guys have to say about whether that's something that's in your business plan, in your intention. And if it is, how is that showing up for you?
I really don't do much with attraction. So I'm not the best person. I try to build into my team right now, but it still pops up that maybe I should do more of it. I know people that here in the Metroplex that have done fantastic, but it's just not part of my plan right now. So I'm kind of in the same boat, I guess, Lisa.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. I mean, when obviously icons are high in production. So unless you have a team and you're sort of, if you're an individual contributor, there's only, again, that's just that same 24 hours in the day. So
yeah.
Appreciate that though. So your organization comes from your actual team.
Correct.
Yeah, right. Mike, who's at Brent Gove right now.
Exactly. So I do have a lane here. I do have a lane here. I do have a passion for this. I've been with EXP for about almost right at 1 year, maybe a year and a week. We have 28 in our downline right now, or they actually say we don't use the downline word anymore. So in my organization, we have 28. So not huge numbers right now, but we're continuing to focus and grow on that. I could speak an hour on this, so I'm going to just try to keep it very brief. For me, I think this is the single greatest opportunity of residual income is one of the big reasons I came here. And the reason I think that is, teams, if you have a team, they're like accordions, right? They grow, they shrink, they grow, they shrink, right? Typically, if you look at the nature of a team. So therefore your income and markets and things like that can grow and shrink as well, right? Based on the market. What doesn't really shrink per se is building this agent attraction arm. Now, don't take anything away from that. Production is massive and we have to have that production side. It's finding the balance to do the agent attraction side. And I think if you have a plan and you use your coaches and your mentors to help you develop and execute that plan, one of the speakers that was here this week has figured out a way to do this at a 95% production and a 5% agent attraction. So I think that's fair. If you can implement a 5% of your efforts a day towards agent attraction, let that eventually outgrow and outpace your production.
Yeah, wow. Well, 95.5 is that would be a longer term vision for sure. But absolutely, I mean, I think a lot of folks who are in high production realize, as you said, that this is most likely the single greatest passive income stream. I mean, bar any. I mean, you can sell Mary Kay till you're blue in the face or whatever. Nothing is going to come close to this. It's just exponentially. We see it all around us. Not for nothing, right? There's millionaires that had to move to Puerto Rico. It's all around us, and it's real, and it's growing, and it's healthy and it's attainable. For me, if I can continue to put down the crack pipe of production, put down the production piece, which for many reasons I would be very happy to do that. It does lose its luster after a certain length of time, for sure.
Well, and one of those things is, what's your exit strategy? Mm-hmm. Is it to sell houses until you're 85 or 90? Right? What is your exit strategy? Right? And I think a lot of people are caught in the day-to-day chase. A lot of people are caught in the day-to-day chase, right, of production, which I understand that. But if you get out to the events, you go learn from the folks in your organization, I promise you, like this is a light bulb moment for you that you'll want to engage and take advantage of. I tell our agents all the time, it's like a database. We harp on people to create a database from day one. Sometimes they won't create it for a day until a year or two later. They regret not creating that database back on day one, right? So this is an opportunity as well. Start creating that database, get 15 names, write them down right now. At least start something.
Yeah, for sure. Someone just wrote in that they sell Mary Kay. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to insult Mary Kay. It was just the first thing that came into my mind.
You're
Anyway.
fine.
Scott, how about you in terms of production and revenue share organization?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all understand the power of revenue share, and for a large part, that was the light bulb that kind of went off when I came over. Of course, to a certain degree, easier said than done. Easier for others. I mean, going back to the very start of this presentation on personality styles, building those deep connecting relationships has never been my forte, and I like, kind of, you said it a couple of times, Lisa, you don't want to put stuff out there, and I'm trying to change my language and my mindset around that. But our market is I don't want to say, I mean, I'm in a smaller market. Even like the province that I'm in is smaller than some of the cities that some of you are in, and so I don't want to say it's saturated, but the opportunity to just gobble up agents is not a possibility in my direct market. So then obviously you're looking to create relationships outside, which I have on social media. But I think, and I don't know the answer to this, and I know that there's a few bad apples, but I think that there's a bit of, I'll use commission breath or EXP breath out there, and especially in our market. I mean, we got guys that'll hardly take your phone call because they're scared you're calling to recruit them, and that's not a fun place to be at. So yes, slowly but surely, when the opportunity comes, to have those conversations. But I think ultimately, they're going to come two ways. From relationships is probably the best way, and then secondly, production. I mean, it's going to be awfully hard to attract somebody to the company if you're not, doing something that's attractive. If I could put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think being in production, I mean, I look at one of my mentors, Elizabeth Riley, number 464, who just, I believe, hit eight-time icon, right? She's the only one who's a 7, and I think she just hit 8. So it has 4 kids, and I mean, there are people that have huge production and are also have I mean, imagine being number 464. Her organization is absolutely enormous. She brought in Gene Fredericks, so she's in an absolutely amazing position, which also allows her to be hugely philanthropic in many, many, many ways, and also spend an unbelievable amount of quality time with her 4 children. So talk about time and financial freedom. So it is 12:44, and we're just wrapping up. I guess, are there any super burning questions out in the audience? I'd love to let folks chime in. I should have probably done this 5 minutes ago because I want to keep our commitment to time, but I'm happy to field anything that's a burning question. I hope you guys got some value from today. I sure did. I loved talking about mindset and learning what different people are doing in different places. Please let us know if we could be of service in any way. I'm going to put in my email address now. And please reach out to me if I can help out in any way.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you so much to Matt and Mike. We appreciate all of you being here as ICON agents and giving back to the community. That's what being an EXP agent and ICON is all about. So if you know how to clap, I'm going to do an F4 here, clapping for all of these amazing agents. Great way to end the week here. Brian, did you have anything to add? We have a new QR code that we're sharing on our side screens if you want to talk about it for a moment.
That's right. Okay, so if you guys take your phones out, open the camera, make sure it's not on portrait mode if you're using an iPhone, and scan the screens on the left and the right hand side of the stage to take an amazing survey. And if you can't scan it, in the chat box, there is a link for you to go ahead and fill that out to your heart's content. Yes.
Yes, please fill out the survey if you have time. We're looking for feedback on these wonderful sessions that we do. Also, just a friendly reminder, the Shareholder Summit registration is open, has been open for a while. I'm going to drop that link in the chat as well. Please make sure you're checking the website for any updates. The schedule has not been updated by the event team yet, but that will be updated in the coming weeks. So take a look at the Shareholder Summit website. You're not going to want to miss out. That's May 17th to 20th, Orlando, Florida. Oh my gosh, that's going to be here so soon. I would love to see all of the agents on stage there and all the agents in the crowd there. So I hope everybody had a wonderful time here at ICONversations, and please reach out to us or any of these agents on the stage if you have any questions or need any help with anything.
Absolutely. It's going to be
Thank you so much to
amazing.
everybody.